y'all, and welcome to this episode. That new intro was hot to death. You feel me? Had to go ahead and shake it up, shake things up a bit, make sure we keep you entertained. So, generally, the topics that are that are chosen to be talked about are done weeks in advance. So the boys and I sat down about 4 weeks ago and talked about the things that we want to talk about in this show. Little did I know is that I would be sitting here talking about COVID-19 and actually having COVID-19. I've been in quarantine since the 19th of January. This was the day after my birthday. But before I get all the way into the story, let's talk about how I believe I contracted COVID-19. I had a trip scheduled for Cancun to go from the 12th to the 16th. And in order to keep my body right, keep my body tight, I decided to go to the gym and exercise a little bit. Even though my basement is set up for physical education, or not physical education, but just physical movement, there were other equipment that I didn't have that I wanted to utilize at the gym. The biggest question that I had about all of that was I was able to use the equipment, but I was not able to lock up my personal belongings in the locker room because it was considered tier 1 as far as concerned of locking up your items. So I can sit down and use this equipment that people have an exchange of body fluid on, but I can't lock up my personal items. Please make it make sense, because I still don't understand it. Either way it goes, I still chose to go to the gym. So a couple of days before it was time for me to leave, I was fine. Until the day of the trip on the 12th. I felt like death on a potato chip, as my mother used to always say. I had a slight fever on and off. I had a headache, but I didn't think much of it because the night before I didn't get that much sleep. So, and that's usually my body's physical response when I don't get enough sleep. So again, I just went ahead and went on the trip. I didn't arrive in Cancun until 9 p.m. that Tuesday and just went straight to bed. Now, for the next 3 days, everything was completely fine. I was submerged in sun, was soaking up all the rays, giving me all the vitamin D that I need. Little did I know is that it actually was curtailing a lot of the symptoms that COVID-19 brought on. The minute that I landed back in Chicago, I felt like shit. I lost my taste and smell for probably all of maybe 8 hours. Because at that point I did begin to panic because I was cooking some black bean soup and couldn't smell anything. So I went ahead and scheduled a test, went through the drive-thru, and it came back positive, which I knew that it would. So unfortunately, that's why the boys are not in this episode, because I am in quarantine. So let's talk about a little bit of COVID-19. What is it? COVID-19 is a virus that has projections that are shaped like mushrooms that are made up of proteins. So when it gets into your body, it's easy for it to adhere to everything that you need. Because if you think about it, we are made up of protein. It's only 18.5%, but it's enough for you to get sick. So when it binds to these proteins in your body, do we really understand what protein is used for? It's for the transport of oxygen. It's also to build and repair your tissues. So for some people, it'll be more fatal if they are to get infected with COVID. But I guess that was a question that I had to myself too, is why is it that for some people that it's either fatal or just presents itself as like a really bad flu? I've done a couple of days of research and I still can't find it. Now, by no means am I a medical professional. Am I licensed clinical nurse or physician? Because I'm not. So the things that I'm saying are based off of some opinion and some fact. So take what I'm saying with a grain of salt. So the problems with the protein that this virus is attacking does make it difficult for you to grab hold to. How do we slow it down? We've been talking about this since March, right? So everyone's wearing their masks and they are trying to keep their hands clean and they're keeping a public distance. If it serves me correct, weren't we supposed to be doing all those three things in the first place? But that's not how this came about. I still don't know. However, you can insert conspiracy theory here because I have my own. But that's for a later time. So COVID-19, in my opinion, is difficult for it to thrive if your body is already in homeostasis. So if you keep your body at a level of where it needs to be as far as hydration, with nutrients, with physical activity, then it's difficult for it to live. The things that I've been doing to try to keep it at bay as much as possible is doing something like this. So I have my oil of oregano that I take 2 to 3 times a day underneath the tongue with water. I try to consume at least a half a gallon of water because staying hydrated is very optimal to any health or any sickness that you do wind up contracting. I also steam my face with lemon, turmeric, and ginger. I do that once a day, maybe twice a day if I'm able to get around to it, because we want to keep our nasal passages as free as possible, because in those small crevices, in those places where you can't be reached, that's where infections like to lie, especially viruses. And the one major thing that I'm doing in order for me to be at tip-top health is to eat all of my nutrients as much as possible. So my body doesn't really break down beef and chicken too well. So I'm just keeping it very basic with seafood, like salmon, and my fruits and vegetables. Not too many processed foods. Now there are times where fatigue does plague me a little bit, but that's just when I sit my ass down because I don't want to overdo it. One of my sister's friends who resided in Texas, he did contract COVID-19. He had it twice. The first time he beat it and he was completely fine. The second time it was fatal. My condolences to your family, Eric. But I don't understand how it transforms so quickly. What is the mutation process? Things like this do pique my interest to the point where I want to keep my family safe as well as stay educated about what's really happening in the world that we're living in now. According to the CDC, we have lost 414,000 people. I believe I'm off the number because of the days. But what I find even more interesting is how there are about 9,000 something deaths in Cook County alone in comparison to 838 in DuPage County or 903 in Lake County. Why are our numbers so drastic? After I found out that I did have a positive testing result, I got a phone call from Cook County. And of course, I know that they collect data in order for them to add to the data that I had just given you. But I find it interesting how our numbers are so staggeringly different. What makes it so much worse in Cook County than all these other counties? I was also posed with the question, if you are exposed to chemical radiation, does it have some of the same symptoms as COVID-19? And upon the research that I've done, it actually does. You have some of the same symptoms. The one major difference was that you had blood in your feces, which can still happen with any other infection, but what they call that is occult. So you'll have blood in your stool, but it won't be visible to the eye. In order for us to slow this down, it's going to be difficult because people still have unhealthy habits. So for the people that are still heavily drinking, the people whose health is at risk because your stress levels are so high, it does a number on your immune system. And we know once your immune system is down, then you are basically open for anything. So it's difficult for your body to really fight it off. Now I know you all are probably wondering, will I get the vaccine? I most certainly the hell will not. Our body has what's called a natural immunity, and that's what I thrive off of. Because really, there's not too many medications that I can take. I'm allergic to aspirin and ibuprofen, and I damn near will have migraines when I take any type of narcotic. So I kind of got to tough it through either way it goes. And we all know the history with vaccines and black folks. I'm not going to get all into it, but I'm sure that you are well aware of what has happened over the years. We've gotten very far in science, and as far as any type of medications are concerned, where we have catapulted past where we were. But that vaccine is not for me. And I won't pass judgment on anyone who does opt to take it. I'm just not going to do it. If I was meant to leave this earth via COVID-19, then so be it. But I will not allow myself to be injected with something that I have absolutely no idea what those side effects are, or if it would even help me, or even if it contains any of the antigens from this virus that's plaguing everywhere. So, with all this being said, COVID-19 is not kicking my ass. I am kicking its ass, and I will continue to do what I do. For future episodes, please comment below whatever it is that you would like to hear me talk about, as well as the boys, because they will be in more episodes. So comment below. Let me know what you want to talk about. So until next week, when we're talking about respect, I want you to always manifest daily.